I'd like to say before starting this video, I have not eaten a single thing. I woke up and I had a shake of pre-workout. Do not recommend it, but oh my God, I got the caffeine. As we all know, the video game industry is booming. There are so many games that come out, well, back in maybe like 2010. Now, usually what happens is there's a game that comes out every 5 years, and it's usually a sequel because they'll keep that same game and do season passes, loot boxes, and just kind of milk the game until it's completely and utterly dead.
Yes, that's it. Fill me up!
Now, one thing that's very important with a video game is the launch. The launch of a video game has to be absolutely immaculate. Like, for example, a long time ago, GTA 5 came out. And to lead up to that game, there was a huge ad campaign. Like, I remember walking around in the UK and every single, like, train station, bus stop, every wall, it had some kind of poster of GTA because their publisher, Take-Two Interactive, was trying to pump so much money into it. So you would literally just think about Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Ow, ow. Bro, I took this pre-workout. I've got pins and needles everywhere. I've got pins and needles. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God. Apparently that's normal though to get pins and needles, but holy shit. Oh. Basically, what I'm trying to say is they put a lot of money into GTA 5, so there was a higher chance that you would buy GTA 5. I even remember at the time, there was so much hype around it when they did the midnight release. You literally had kids that were basically jumped and robbed for their copy of GTA 5.
Oh, please, no! No! Let her go! You can't take her! Let go, please! You can't take her!
So the release of a game being successful is very, very important. Like, for example, there are so many games that come out that have like this huge 14, 15 gigabyte day one patch because they kind of realized last minute, oh no, the game we're launching, it's unplayable. Quick, do an update. It's actually pretty sad to say that day one patches have basically became just the absolute norm of video games now. When you download a game, it could be like 50, 60 gig, and then you find out you've got to do an extra like 10 to 15 gig patch on top of that just to make the game playable. But there is one game recently that has had an absolutely disastrous release, and no amount of day one patches have been able to fix it, and that is Payday 3. Now, Payday is an amazing franchise. I love it. Probably not as much as like certain Payday YouTubers that are just complete god sweats at the game, doing strats that I don't even understand. Basically, it was a game that I like to play casually. Now, Payday 2, the game before Payday 3, that's been out for well over a decade, and the skill ceiling right now, it has gone into the heavens. It is up there right now, communicating with God, because
you're breathtaking.
The strategies, the tactics that players use, it basically ends up just being a huge numbers game. So when they announced Payday 3, I thought, okay, the game actually looks good. Because I'll be honest, guys, I don't really see anyone in the comments defending this. Payday 2 was an ugly looking game. Not to mention the fact the game engine it was running on, it was originally designed for racing games. So yeah, it was a very bare bones engine. It wasn't very good. And obviously moving over to a more updated engine with Payday 3, I kind of thought, okay, I'll get that. So then you go onto the Steam page and you can see that they've got like 3 different versions of the game. They've got like the base version, I think a silver version, and then a gold version. There was like absolutely no difference in these editions apart from getting like a funny mask. And I think with the gold edition, you got like the first year of DLC or side content for free. So it was basically just paying for a season pass, which is like, you know, any video game now, to be fair. Another feature you actually got as well, if you pre-purchased the game, I think with one of the higher edition tiers, you actually got to play the game before everyone else. Now, I did this, and I really liked the game. I mean, to be fair, a lot of it was quite buggy. I do remember at some points, like, every time I'd fire a gun, the game would, like, briefly pause for 3 seconds. Not really sure why it did that. So when this, like, early access version of Payday came out for everyone that paid more money because they've got way too much disposable income, myself included, the game actually worked fine. I'm recording this after... Okay, they just haven't fixed the game at all. Okay. If anyone's wondering, by the way, the character's meant to look like Slade from Teen Titans. Deathstroke. Because all the masks in the game are shit. But then, when the floodgates released on actual launch day and all the muggles came out of their homes to play Payday 3 because they were too poor to pay for the content. I like this elitism. You would actually have people make this argument saying, oh, well, clearly they're just too poor. They're too poor. Kick them off the servers. Let only the gold edition players play. Basically, when the servers went public and everyone got to join, no one got to join because the servers tanked within 5 minutes. Here's an example. There's a guy tweeting that he's been playing the game for nearly 5 hours, not able to get into a single game. Now, because the servers were so unstable, if you managed to get into a game, the servers would drop for basically no reason whatsoever. I mean, there's one clip here, for example, of a guy being hit by a cloaker, which is a one-hit down enemy that can basically one-tap you into an incapacitated state. What is that fucking timing? Oh, what is that fucking timing? Yep, just beat my fucking ass to a pulp. It's fine. And the cloaker hits him so hard that it basically disconnects him from the game. Also, because the servers were so unstable, enemies were basically just unkillable. Anytime you would try to gun them down and kill them, they'd basically just use the equivalent of a quick revive and get back up straight away. Now, one thing that was really funny about these server situations is you could tell that you were basically screwed when your game started acting really erratically, like everything I've kind of mentioned here. But then, for example, like cars, because there are cars now that drive around in the game, like on the streets and stuff, they would basically bug out and start clipping through buildings. And this was basically a warning that, yep, you're about to lose all your progress. You're about to be booted back to the main menu. Every money, every bit of XP you've got is going to be completely void. But you know what, guys? It's actually not all that bad. Do you remember in Payday 2, if any of you played it, how you had to drill every single object in the entire game? A door, you had to drill it. A small little safe, we couldn't crack that. You've got to drill it. Well, now, thankfully, they've added a voice wheel option to say piece of shit drill over and over.
Shit drill. Shit drill.
Piece of shit drill.
Shit drill.
Piece of shit drill.
Shit drill. Hey, shit drill.
Piece of shit drill.
Shit drill. Shit drill.
There's actually one clip I just came across here, and it was a guy streaming Payday 3, and it took him so long to get into the servers that he fell asleep.
1990. Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli. Ah, mamma mia.
So yeah, the launch of Payday 3 was an absolute disaster. Despite it being one of the fastest selling games on Steam for that week, if you look at the reviews now, it's pretty much overwhelmingly negative because no one could get into a game. Now, I do know with Steam reviews, a lot of people like to cope. You know, you'll have some guy on his potato PC and he's like, why can't I run the brand new AAA game that came out? Why can't I run Death Stranding? You'll always get people like that. Like, they know that they've got a bad system, but then they still blame the game. But this is no excuse. No one could get into a game. And the worst thing is as well, I was really hyped to play Payday 3. I put a lot of hours into it, like before the servers went public. But now, like, the hype's kind of died. Now, who do we blame for this? Who's the bad guy here? Who we blaming? Who we accusing? Whose career are we ending? Who are we hashtag canceling? So funnily enough, it isn't actually Starbreeze's fault. If you didn't know, Starbreeze, the company behind Payday that developed the series, they're a Swedish company. So they live in Sweden and they all talk like this. Oh my God, IKEA meatball. I watch PewDiePie. I love PewDiePie. The funny thing is, I actually had no idea that Starbreeze that made Payday were a Swedish company until I saw like this really old trailer of Payday 2 of Hoxton, one of the playable heisters, being broken out of prison. And they're meant to be driving around New York while he's being busted, but you can see in the background like there's logos for like Swedish train stations and stuff. That is definitely in Sweden. That is not New York. The main reason behind this like huge server crash is because Starbreeze partnered up with Deep Silver. Deep Silver are the publishers. Now, if you don't know Deep Silver, they're a German publishing company. They really don't have the best track record. I think every game that they've been like publishing behind has ended up being terrible. I mean, Dead Island, for example, that was kind of okay when it came out originally. Not very good now, kind of mid. But the thing is, the reason why Dying Light exists is because Techland, that made Dead Island, they didn't like their relationship with Deep Silver, so they split off and they made a much better game series.
So guys, we did it.
I mean, no one's going to sit here and say that Dead Island 2 is better than Dying Light 2. I honestly thought Dying Light 2 overall was kind of a mid game. I didn't really get into it. I didn't finish it. It was very bloated and the story again was just mid. Way too much talking. But it was still miles better than Dead Island 2 because Dead Island 2 was just so forgettable. I mean, how are you going to compare a game that is like Spider-Man first person, rappelling down walls, grappling, hook-shotting, using a parachute to get airtime, compared to Dead Island, where it's like, oh, look, I'm going to walk into someone's house and hit a zombie 20 times, and then they die. Oh, the game's so fun. The game's so fun. I actually remember streaming Dead Island 2, and some of the enemies just would not take any damage, and that wasn't even a bug. That was an intended feature. So basically, from the looks of it, Starbreeze just weren't allocated enough servers for such a huge game launch. Like, wow, what? A game that's had a very consistent player base for 10 years. You're telling me the next game after, people are going to play that? What? I'd like to imagine the server space that Deep Silver gave them at the time was just like a hamster running on a wheel constantly. Also, what's really embarrassing is Starbreeze, they got very cocky about how good the game's going to be at launch. They got asked at one point, what happens when the servers go down? To which they replied, well, they won't go down. Simple.
Mr. Dr. Pepper says, since the game is online only, what happens if the servers go down? Well, they won't.
One of the worst things about the game as well, apart from the servers being down, is there's no single player. Do you know how many videos I get recommended of like people that will solo stealth an entire map just to flex? They'll basically just have a bunch of butt heisters wetting around in the lobby while he does the entire like heist himself. But that's not a thing. You can't do that anymore. There is no way at the minute of recording to play single player. Like it's basically an online only game. You can still have a private match with yourself and a bunch of butt heisters, but to do that, you need to search online, which doesn't make any sense. They also put out a statement as well. Starbreeze released an official statement this morning. Payday 3 matchmaking infrastructure has not performed as tested and expected. Matchmaking software encountered an unforeseen error. What do you mean unforeseen error? Oh, loads of people logged in to play our very famous game franchise. What? Which made it unable to handle the massive influx of players. I'd like to imagine they just put like, if more of you bought the gold edition, we wouldn't have this problem. The issue caused an unrecoverable situation for Starbreeze's third-party matchmaking partner. A new version of the matchmaking server software was gradually deployed across all regions, leading to improved performance. I mean, I would not say it's improved performance. It basically went from not being able to get into a single lobby to being able to get into like every 8th lobby after 8 hours of waiting for a match. A software update made by the partner during late Sunday again introduced instability to the matchmaking infrastructure. I like that, how they're just blaming the partner at this point, like the server provider. The partner continues to work to improve and stabilize Payday 3's online system. The issue in question did not manifest during technical betas or early access due to the specificity. Well, I can't say that word. Specificity. Why can't I say that word? Specificity. I can't say that word. Am I having a stroke right now? Specificity of rapid user influx and load balancing. Starbreeze is currently evaluating all options, both short and long term. In the short term, this means Starbreeze's focus is to ensure the player experience. In the long term, this means evaluating a partner for matchmaking services and making Payday 3 less dependent on online services. I mean, all you need to do, add a single player function, because if no one could play online during the launch of like your biggest game ever, because let's be real, Starbreeze, Payday is the only franchise that makes you money. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's a game that Starbreeze made called Raid. Not Raid Shadow Legends, believe me. Like, they're not sponsoring this video. But there was a game called Raid. It was like this kind of World War II. It was basically Payday, but it was set during World War II. And that game fell off in like the first week. So to say that this is Starbreeze's only moneymaker is a bit of an understatement. Now, I don't want to snide Starbreeze too much. I know that they're like, you know, they're really trying to make this work. And also, they've made a lot of games that I really like. They made the Chronicles of Riddick games. They made the Darkness, the first Darkness, if you've heard of that game. That is a very good game. And I really, really wish that they ported it over to Steam or to PC. Apparently, at some point, they're actually going to do a remake of the game or like a HD or, you know, something like that. But I do like this company. I really do. I don't want to see them like, you know, fall on their ass. But at the same time, like, add a single player mode. It's not that difficult.
My resolution? Airstrikes. Bomb them. Bomb them.